The government needs to act urgently to tackle a shortage of medicines before it causes serious harm to a patient. That's according to a report by MPs.
Owners of dangerous dogs will face tougher punishment under new guidelines issued by the Sentencing Council for England and Wales.
In the most serious cases, anyone who allows a dog to be dangerously out of control and to injure someone would face up to 18 months in jail, compared with 12 months currently. Our legal correspondent Clive Coleman has more. Now, here's someone who might make you feel just a little bit guilty. If you haven't done any exercise for a while or at all, or this morning, have a look at this. Very good detail there.
Sun salutation. Carol will be here with a full weather update in the next 15 minutes after she's done her yoga. Now, if you take a peek outside your window this morning, you may not be surprised if you find it overcast and wet. After all, give or take a few sunny days, that is the kind of weather we've had all spring.
But while the poor conditions are an inconvenience for most of us, for many people they can have serious health impacts. Seasonal affective disorder is a condition which can cause depression, insomnia and anxiety, and there's concern this year's bad weather is making that even worse.
Well, joining us now, Bill Bristow.
Today, how does it affect you? How does it transpire?
Just a complete lack of...
Come on. It's just the weather.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Now, and certainly it helps if it is, and it looks like we are going to get some sunny days, even if it's cold. Get out there at lunchtime. Get.
8 is the time. 8:15 exactly. Coming up on the programme today. Let's have a look at the weather, Carol. People want a little bit of sunshine. What can you tell us?
Good morning.
Now, the argument over growth versus austerity is currently dividing Europe. In one corner, you have the new French President, François Hollande, who's in favour of spending his way out of trouble.
He, of course, gets sworn in today and then goes to meet, in the other corner, Germany's austerity cheerleader, the Chancellor, Angela Merkel. So the pair have their first official meeting, and Breakfast's Graham Satchell has been to Berlin to find out whether it really has to be a case of either or.
8:23 is the time. Mobile phones with cameras have made it easier than ever to photograph special, funny, unusual moments in our lives. But rather than just posting them online, a new project wants us to share them with the world.
An educational trust in Sweden is asking people from around the globe to submit up to 10 photographs from their day so that they can create the largest snapshot of one single day in human history.
And one of the people behind it is Brigitte Lanois, who somewhere to the end of the day, 24 hours.
Absolutely, 24 hours. And last night, as I arrived in the hotel, the very first picture had come in.
This morning. So let's have a look at a snapshot in the life of... And do you want to know the time,
yes,
the location,
yes,
the name?
Yes.
Because sometimes people can send these things in and you think it's a lovely picture, but unless it's actually... Very much indeed for sending in your pictures as well.
Coming up, BBC News Channel, of course.
On breakfast, though...
Time now to get the news, travel and weather where you are.
See you in a moment. Morning, you're watching Breakfast with Charlie State and Susanna Reid.
Our main story this morning, two of the biggest economic powers in Europe will meet today to try and solve the Eurozone crisis. The number of children who get help for special educational needs in England is going to be reduced in the biggest shake-up of the system for nearly 30 years.
Now let's catch up with all the sports news, and Sally's here again.
Do you imagine those Manchester City players are still nursing hangovers this morning?
Definitely.
I think potentially yes, and why not? Because they're...
Now, we reported on her success yesterday on Breakfast. Imagine if you're 15 and in the final of a music competition...
Not just any music competition.
Not
it's a
just
big one.
any.
It's not the school competition.
It is...
A bit bigger than that.
Frankly, the eyes of the world are on you. You could play it safe with a famous piece, or you could risk performing something few people have ever heard before.
Our next guest took the gamble and it paid off. Lara van der Heyden has just been named the BBC's Young Musician of 2012. Lara,
thank you for having me on.
for those people who didn't see it before, I think we should see your performance. Tell us what you performed.
Well, that looks like a challenge. And didn't you just rise to the challenge? So tell us about it. Tell us about the concerto. Tell us about playing under that pressure.
Well, I think pressure kind of falls away in a situation like that because, you know, the build-up, you get very nervous and you start thinking about what could go wrong, of course, but then...
With the recorder, and then went on to piano.
At 5, and then cello at 6.
Yeah, cello at 6?
Yes.
But by what age were you reaching, you know, levels where everyone was aware you were something exceptional?
No, not like they can.
And she hasn't mentioned all the languages she speaks as well. But, we're not worthy, Lara.
I think it was a really great night, and the concert, I think everybody loved it. You know, the three...
Very much.
8:45 is the time. Carol, tell us about the weather.
It's a bit on the nippy side.
Yeah, it's just looking
Hardy's necessary.
a little bit nippy. Just looking through some of your emails this morning. You know, we were talking about cycling earlier on. This new survey saying that more than half of cyclists have at some point jumped a red light, at least once, they're saying.
Many people would think this is a simple case of breaking the law. Some cyclists, though, have been arguing that they are forced to get ahead of the traffic to keep themselves safe. In fact, Tim on Twitter says, I always jump red lights. It is actually safer. Mark says there's too much moaning about cyclists, and your survey this morning, brings it to the forefront. The majority of cyclists abide by the highway code. Only a chosen few make those errors like jumping red lights.
And quite a few people speaking from the perspective of pedestrians, like Kay on Facebook, who says, as a pedestrian, cars are not a worry. It's the cyclists, they're a menace and verbally abusive, she says. And Sue says, I've been driving for 20 years, new to cycling. I've taken lessons from my local cycling club. Nothing prepares you for being treated as worthless by drivers who forget that my life counts for something. She says she adheres to the highway code. Shame most drivers don't do the same thing.
Well, thanks for your emails and Facebook comments and tweets on that this morning.
Our next guest knows a thing or two about injuries caused by cycling and road accidents, I would imagine.
They save lives every day. They also let a group of TV producers and cameras into their hospital to watch them while they did it. And the result is the award-winning TV documentary 24 Hours in A&E.
Sister Jen Dupre and Dr.
The number of people who come in drunk.
I don't even know if frustration's the right word to say, really. I mean, you do get...
You can watch 24 Hours in A&E because it's on Channel 4 tomorrow night at 9 o'clock.
Our next guest was a pioneer of electronic music back in the 70s and 80s, and he hasn't stopped experimenting ever since.
To prove it, Gary Newman is showing fans his best work in a new DVD release. He's also starting a new UK tour next week, during which he'll perform his 600th gig. We're going to talk to Gary in just a moment. Let's look back at some of those hits. There he is, and here he is.
Unbelievable, yeah. My union.
On that theme, are you musical? I mean, when you were a child, were you a keyboard player? Did you do the piano?
Not really, no.
Care?
No.
Are there people who dress up? I bet there are.
A bit, yeah, a bit. It's not the way it was, not quite the way. Yeah, in a really nice way.
In a good way.
600, I was quite a bit disappointed.
We'll get them to check the figures. Maybe it's more.
No, I'm sure it's true. It's the fan that actually put that together is very anarchy about such things. I'm sure he knows.
Lovely to see you here this morning. Thank you.
Six Music, and with good reason. Lovely to see you. The DVD, Gary Newman, Machine Music, is out on the 11th of June. The tour starts on Tuesday.
Joey Tempest from the band Europe will be here in just a moment.
Making new music.
Doing new stuff. We'll speak to him in just a moment. First, though, last look at what's happening where you are.
See you in a moment. With the leaders of Germany and France meeting today to thrash out the Eurozone crisis, you could argue it's an appropriate day to speak to our next guest. As if he's been booked to talk about the economic situation.
Joey Tempest Band, Europe's most famous song is The Final Countdown, reached the top of the charts in 25 countries, continues to be popular 3 decades later. Joey, have you got anything you want to say about... through the timeline for me, around the time you formed, ABBA would have been... I mean, if you say music and Sweden, people immediately say ABBA, don't they? Were you watching ABBA as a young man?
It's funny because in later life we're
to say that. So we
Apologies.
apologise on your behalf. I'm delighted to see that you still have sort of rock hair.
Exactly what I mean. If I go to one of those. Delightful to see you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.
And just a reminder, Europe's new album, Bag of Bones, is out now. The band, as we were just saying, goes on tour from around the 21st of November. Were you a Gary Newman fan?
Yeah, I like his stuff.
From its sort of musical brilliance. Lovely to see you.
Thank you so much.
That's all from us for this morning. Breakfast back from 6 o'clock tomorrow. Have a good day. Thanks for your company. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.